Hey everybody, Justin from frugalsnobs.com. But I am not here today in the name of the Frugal Snobs podcast, but I do have my co-host from the Frugal Snobs podcast, Christina, joining me. Hello.
Hello.
So Christina and I decided to do a quick rundown and really have a discussion about your books.
Yes.
We've talked about your books, the Imperial Legends series, over the past few weeks on the Frugal Snobs podcast.
But we've never gone into detail.
Exactly. We've been so busy with so many other things and trying to get content out that we really didn't give you your spotlight that you deserve. So we're going to go ahead and talk about Christina's books today. Talk about where you've been, what the journey's been like, what you've been doing, and what you plan to do, and also give any advice to, let's say, future writers and self-publishers. Is that fair?
Yes.
This also applies to content creators as well. So with the podcast, I know that we have to generate a lot of organic content. So we're going to talk about organic content as well. Is that fair?
That's fair.
All right. So, we are co-hosts on the Frugal Snobs podcast, and we have a lot of fun with that. But I really, how do I put this? I enjoy what we do on the podcast, but I think the world you've entered into is something that's totally foreign to me, and I have to respect you for that. I've written quite a bit myself in terms of academic articles or things like that, but I've never written a work like this, a series. And you have a total of 6 books in the series, right?
Yes.
Volumes 1 and 2 are out.
Yes. The first one is Birth of the Karashino Priestess, and the second one is Battle for the Karashino Priestess.
Excellent. So before we get into really more questions about the books, so let's talk about where you can get the books. So we've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but we've been kind of rushed. But folks, you can find the books in print and I believe digital, so Christina will give a little more detail on the digital versions. But you can find the print versions on barnesandnoble.com and also on Amazon.
And and you can find the ebooks on both Amazon and Barnes & Noble, but on Google Play as well.
Gotcha. And you also have a website for the series as well. So if you're kind of wondering, folks, where you can get the book and you don't really want to go back and think about, where did they say they can find this book? Just go to imperiallegends.com, right? imperiallegends.com, all one word, no dashes, no underscores, no spaces, of course. And you'll be able to buy your copy there, okay? Via Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and, of course, the digital content delivery. So
everything is linked in.
Yep, everything you're going to need is at imperiallegends.com. All right, so let's go ahead and get a little bit deeper into the series itself. So I have to ask, what inspired you to write a 6-book series?
I never meant it to be 6 books, but with how the ideas just kept coming, I was initially going to have 3 books. Mm-hmm. But with how thick the first one came out, I took your advice and split it into 2.
Right. So, folks, I just wanted to mention here, Christina and I are partners in life. Let's put it that way. Is that fair?
Yes.
That's nice to say. Yes. It's very sweet.
Yes.
But, in our partnerships in life, it also includes business-oriented partnerships, right? So, I wanted to use some of my know-how and to assist Christina in kind of helping her better market and distribute your books. And you're right, the first book came out to be over 500 pages.
Yes.
And that was released really in a limited run, let's say.
It was nearly 200,000 words.
And over 500 pages.
Yes.
So what we felt is that, one, the book itself is very lengthy in terms of someone finishing something of that size, yes?
Especially with it being the initial book.
Exactly. So that was available in a limited run, so you did sell a few copies of this run of the book. But in the end, and you signed a couple of copies as well, but in the end, you decided to go with a split of 2 books initially. So that's how we're at the point of volumes 1 and 2.
And that makes it more consumable.
It does, and I think for you it also makes it much more marketable.
Yeah.
Because that way people can start with volume 1 and move on to volume 2, right, and graduate on to volume 2. So really you were going to have, I assume, 3, like you said, 3 books in this series.
Yes.
Were they all planned to kind of be of the same length?
No, I wasn't planning anything. I had no formula, no rhyme or reason with how I was writing it. I was just writing it to write.
Stream of consciousness?
Yes.
And the ideas just kept coming and coming and coming, and as you're incorporating these in, I guess just the pages kept flowing and flowing and flowing, right?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And you don't want to kill any content because you never know where you're going to use it.
Right. And so you have this multi-book series, right?
Yes.
Now, I do want to ask a bit of an outside question, and a little bit of an ad hoc question, so take your time in the answer. If it catches you a little off guard, I apologize. But I do have to ask, right? So your series is inspired by what exactly?
You mean like what is it influenced by?
Yes, and then I'm going to ask a follow-up question.
Okay. I have been an anime guru for, I can honestly say, 20 years now. I got into it in the 90s.
Am I allowed to officially call you a nerd
Yes.
in an interview? Good.
Yes.
Excellent.
But I took ideas. I didn't actually take anything verbatim, but it's like when I listen to certain music, because I always am listening to music when I'm writing, because that is definitely a major influence in what I write. Like when I was writing the battle scene, I was listening to more instrumental, epic, orchestral pieces, and that helped write because I could visualize in my mind what was actually happening on the battlefield based on the music I was listening to.
You know, it's interesting. Before you go any further, I was just going to bring this up, and we are not massive fans of, let's say, opera. But, you know, opera's like that. When you have stage performances of opera, you have orchestral pieces that go with it. And it sounds like almost in the same way you're looking at something similar to trying to match what you would envision a performance to look like.
Yes.
Along with the instrumentals, but doing it simultaneously. So it's not like with a screenplay where you basically film everything and then you match it to pieces.
Yes, I'm actually matching my content to the music that I'm listening to.
Right, in real time.
Yes.
So that itself is unique. So this is basically a series inspired by
music,
but influenced by anime.
Influenced by anime, a little bit by the DC world, the DC Marvel universe, a little bit, not much, because I watched that, and then also a little bit of other various sci-fi shows that I've finished.
So really what you're looking to do is create some sort of blended approach that's new.
Yes.
But takes, I won't say takes like verbatim, of course, so it's not necessarily a plagiarizing effort, but it takes themes.
Yes.
From, or overtones from these other sources and then combines them into one source.
With my own twist to make them unique.
So I have to ask this question. So we haven't really covered it yet, and we will in more detail, but you've done everything on this organically.
Everything.
Right? So even the cover art.
Yes.
Is all done organically. So you've done everything. You wrote it, you published it, you did all of the art.
Yes.
So here's my question. If this is meant to be an anime influenced or inspired series, do you find it maybe difficult to compete potentially with actual anime series that are available, and I mean truly in an anime format, in other words, a visual context, like a series context, or is it something that's anime inspired but works well with the written word?
I think it works well with the written word. Plus, with how I'm crafting the website, it's going to be interactive on there. I'm going to have various maps for people to look at, so they will get the visual thing on the website. They can, they will soon be able to actually see the map layout of all 4 regions with each of the 3 countries per region in there. They'll see where the battlefield's at. They'll see what the stones in the first 2 books mean and who has them and what they do, what colors they are, what they look like, and things like that.
Gotcha. So, and you also have pronunciation guides available as well?
They're actually printed in the back of the book.
Excellent. So, before we go any further, you just mentioned a lot of content.
Yes.
Right? So, we talked about what inspires the book.
Yes.
But, you know, I've asked this before. what is this thing about? So, what is your series actually about? So walk us through your main character and really what her journey is like, at least in the first 2 books.
Okay, within the first 2 books, it starts off with her kind of like daydreaming because she wants to be a quote-unquote professional wrestler.
Who is she?
Karya.
Karya.
And she ends up winning the first ever California Ultimate Fighters women's title.
Ultimate Fighters women's title?
Yes, for the state of California.
For the state of California.
Yes.
Interesting. So she's a mixed martial artist with a pro wrestler blended.
Yes.
Basically a combat athlete. How's that? Is that better? She's a female combat athlete. Interesting. Oh,
That's how it kicks off.
Gotcha.
But then, whenever she's not off on her own, doing her own thing with that, she's actually this real shy, timid girl and can't really tell people what she truly feels about things.
I see.
So she gets stepped on like crazy.
Gotcha. So, where does she come from? And what really happens to her throughout this book is my next question. So,
well, the next step in the book is she gets taken from one world, which is kind of like the world we live in now, to this mysterious, like, ultimate world. And she gets there because she ends up in a car accident. Someone rear ends her, sends her flying down a hill and into a tree.
I see. So, I guess when she comes to, so to speak,
she wakes up in that world.
Gotcha. So, it's an ultimate alternate world.
Yes.
So, and she basically, I assume, has to
find out what or who she truly is in that world. Like, what is her purpose in life?
Gotcha. So, does she have an alternate self in that world?
No.
Okay, so
she can only exist in one or the other world.
Gotcha. So there's not like a mirror universe kind of thing? Gotcha.
Some characters have the mirror character, but they cannot coexist.
So it's kind of like the influence of each of these worlds is based on her existence in it.
Yes.
Wow, that's deep. Now I'm interested. So, no, but you hear all these like mirror universe type of stories or departures or alternate timelines, and usually it's because a person exists in both timelines, and due to a historical event, you are where you are. Right? Yes. It's kind of like for anybody who isn't a sci-fi person or, in your case, an anime person. It's kind of like if you watch Back to the Future. Same kind of concept, right? You have alternate realities based on historical events.
Different timelines.
Right, alternate timelines based on one combined historical event or one common event with a different outcome in each case. In your case, it's not only based on an outcome of an event, it's based on a person's existence and their influence on events.
Yes.
Wow, okay. Gotcha.
And the best part is, I'm actually writing a prequel to this. Will actually explain how she got into the original world that we found her in.
Gotcha. So basically, the series is about, at least for the time being, it's about Karya.
Yes. Who
is living in one particular reality or one world.
Yes.
Has a car accident, wakes up in a different alternate world.
Yes.
And basically, she finds out who she is, what her purpose is in that world, accepts being in that world.
Yes, and then you transition into book 2,
right,
where she actually does her training, gets her power stones, as you can call them.
So what are these power stones? You've talked about them already, and you've talked about them to me before. What are these things?
There's 8 different stones. They're called the Kairoshino stones. And there's 4 priestesses. Each one has 2. And then whenever you get to the battle, it's like a tournament. 2 regions fight each other, and then the next day, the other 2 regions fight each other, and the winner of those 2 battles fight each other for the ultimate. And the only way to win the war is by killing the other priestess and taking her stones.
So what do you do with these stones? What do they control?
They control wind, water, fire, earth, rain. One actually has mind control. So that's part of some of the stones that I can name off the top of my head.
So taking a departure here, this is not like a Captain Planet kind of deal.
No. Gosh,
correct?
no.
Gotcha. Because, I mean, that's one of the first things that we talked about. I'm like, this sounds similar to the Planeteers, but it's not.
No, the stones are actually assimilated into her body.
Gotcha.
And then whenever the priestess dies, they fall out of her body, and then the other priestess grabs them and then assimilates those also into her body to interact with the other stones. And as you add stones to your body, the powers grow stronger.
So, basically, your goal is to have all the stones.
Yes.
Gotcha. Power stones. Okay, so, another thing I wanted to ask about is, you mentioned the Kairoshino stones.
Yes.
Where is all of your naming convention coming from for this book? Or the books, I should say.
Some of them have, or most of the words that are foreign sounding have a Japanese influence.
Mm-hmm.
But, for example, like with Kairoshino, that's actually something I made up off the top of my head based off of a band I like and a last name of a Sailor Moon character.
Gotcha. So, basically, the pronunciation guides are in each book.
Yes,
correct.
And Kairoshino is Kairos from the band,
Mm-hmm.
and Hino from the one character's last name smashed together.
Gotcha. So it's a portmanteau.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a big fancy word for saying two words that you jam together.
Yes.
Portmanteau. Question I would have is, okay, let's say that I have the books, right? And I want to know how to properly pronounce all of these things. I can use your pronunciation guide, right?
Yes.
Does it have phonetic, like, broken down?
It has the translations on it. On the website, we'll have the actual click here to listen to this word.
Right, it's similar to kind of like Wikipedia when you click on the little icon, the
Yes.
speaker icon. So you're going to have something like that also added to the website.
Yes.
So you'll be able to remove all doubt. So
Yes.
that's part of that interactivity, right?
Yes.
So you have maps, you'll have the pronunciation guide.
Character guides, so you can see where each character's from.
Right. All right. So you've been through this process, and you're happy to get this done, and you have a total of 6 books that you're planning in the series. Book 3 is going to be released March of next year.
March of 2019.
Gotcha.
It is handwritten, getting typed up, and beefed up.
Okay. So you have the printed copy. You have the digital copies available.
Yes.
And you are currently investigating and researching the best way to release audiobooks.
Yes.
So, interestingly enough, folks, I actually attended the Fairfax Comic-Con.
Yes.
Yes, on August 25th and 26th. I should say the 26th only for me. But Christina, you were at this event
For 2 days.
in Fairfax for 2 days, yeah?
Yes.
So, while you were there, you noticed that a lot of folks came by your booth, a lot of folks took cards, you made some sales, but you also saw an increased request for audiobooks.
Yes, and I was surprised by that. I mean, I never thought that audio would be the way to go.
Right, and I understand people commute and things like that, but I would also think that people would want, the print copy or something like that. So there seems to be a greater interest in the book if it were an audio book series, right?
At least 6 people asked me for audio.
Right. So you are looking for and investigating a means for an audiobook.
Yes, and to do it as economical as possible.
Right, but also as the highest quality possible.
Exactly.
Right, and then we also have to think of a distribution model for that. But for now, I mean, the book is available in print. It's also available digital as an ebook. So get out there and get it, folks. Volumes 1 and 2. Now, you've had a couple of signings up to this point.
Yes.
And have you enjoyed your experiences?
It's been fun. I mean, it can be a little exhausting, but actually when you're interacting with the people, you don't even think about your energy levels. They just go through the roof.
Right. And so you've had a couple of signings so far, so you're still new.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're actually seeing success.
Yes.
And that's important. So if somebody wanted to get into this particular realm, and I don't just mean in your genre, which is a very unique one, I would ask also if somebody wants to get into the writing game, so to speak,
yes,
and they're a younger writer. Let's say they're in their teens and maybe their early 20s, and they want to start writing a book. Maybe they talk about writing a book. Everybody talks about writing a book.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But they never actually do it.
Exactly.
So, one, what got you basically motivated to actually finish it? And 2, what would you give in terms of advice to somebody who's starting out the process?
At least when you're getting started, keep notebooks, keep sticky pads, keep pens all nearby. Keep them in your nightstand, keep them in your backpack, by your desk. Keep them in your office desk. It doesn't matter. Just keep it nearby because you never know when that next idea is going to come to you.
Wait a minute. You said keep them in an office desk.
Yes.
People should be working.
Hey, when it comes to you, it comes to you. You can't tell it when it can't work or when it can't come to you.
So you're telling me I should carry a Post-it pad in one pocket and a pen in the other pocket?
Basically, at all times. I've gotten ideas whenever I'm riding public transit to work.
Gotcha. Okay. So I gotta ask about this too. So this pen thing.
Yes.
You keep pens of all colors, all types. You don't have any discriminatory aspects toward your pens.
I keep pink ones. I keep purple, green, blue, black, all in my backpack.
And then you organize all these notes and jots and back of napkin type of comments, things like that when you're ready, right?
Yes, I actually pre-print the pages I'm going to write the book on, and then slap the sticky notes onto them in the sections I want them to be in.
So before you take everything to a document, word processing, that kind of thing, right, to the actual electronic format, so you do all this stuff writing by hand. Do you find it's easier for you to, I guess, retain, or do you feel more of a connection in that with the hand writes it, the mind comprehends and accepts it, or how does that work?
Basically, it's
kind of like when people take notes in college, you know what I'm saying? Like where if the hand writes, the mind retains, versus people that record things or things like that. I'm just curious.
Basically, I handwrite to get the idea out because my mind is moving at, I would say, at least 100 miles an hour, trying to play the whole scene out in my mind, and I'm visualizing it, and I'm just writing as fast as I can see things happening. So whenever I actually go to get it typed up and make it in print form, I can then go back in and add more details about, like, what that bottle looked like, what that dress looked like, what that wall looked like, what that landscape looked like. I can add more details there as it's getting typed up into final print.
So, question I have, obviously in the digital age, right, and the Internet of Things, and the age of the cloud, right, I love all these things that we assign, these labels we assign to things we had 20 years ago, but just now became consumer friendly.
Yes.
Basically. So a question I have for you is, digital recording, right? It used to be microcassettes.
Yes.
Now it's basically just recording on your mobile devices.
Yes.
My question is, have you thought about using maybe a recording device just to record, like a dictation kind of thing, a voice dictation, or does that just not work for you? Is it better for you to write?
I've not.
A writer writes always, right?
Exactly. That's kind of how I've been with it. Because I can't record half the places where I'm at. Like, it's going to be so hard to record an idea on a metro train. You're not going to be able to hear it right, or if you're on the bus and there's horns and people chatting, and it's just writing because it's a more peaceful way to get it done.
So do you have more of a connection with your work as you write versus just saying the idea? I'm just curious. I'm just trying to get into the delving into the psychology of what you're doing. And also, again, for a younger person or for someone who's just starting out, they may have that temptation to use a digital recording device, right, versus writing it down. So you would really suggest, at least do what's best for you, but you're suggesting write it down.
For me, writing is the best way to get things down, but if you are more of a digital person, go ahead and do the digital. But then don't be afraid to go back and make your edits. Don't be afraid to say, oh, I don't like this, change it.
Right, because I think for some people, they can listen back to an idea, and then as they hear it read by themselves, or how should I say it?
They think about it.
By themselves. Right, as themselves, they think about it.
Yes.
It's kind of like, it also helps remove any kind of bias.
Yes.
So when you write things down,